Guys, I keep telling people this, and eventually one day, people will actually listen to me because I pay close attention to what happens on both sides, right? And the reason why is because that keeps my perspective as broad as possible, in which I can analyze exactly what's going on in this country. And I keep saying this, and I'm trying to tell people, sometimes the enemy of your enemy is actually your best friend. And when one of these wings of our current political spectrum, which I define as the far left, the center left, the centrist right, and the Trump right, when either the far left or the Trump right figures this out, that's when we'll actually make some headway in this country in terms of going in the direction that we actually need to go. But until then, what's going to happen is that people are going to continue to get played because they're not really paying attention to exactly what's going on. And this is being shown by the fact that the progressives have gotten stiff-armed again by the establishment Democrats. And they are upset about it. They don't like it. They feel betrayed. But before we get into that, my name is Greg Foreman, and you're watching A Black Conservative Perspective. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share A Black Conservative Perspective, a.k.a. a leftist worst nightmare. You can also follow me on Twitter at GForemanBCP. But right before we get into this, guys, some of you guys know I am fighting the war on flushable wipes. Flushable wipes are not actually flushable at all. They cost local municipalities millions of dollars per year to clean out clogged pipes, and it can also cost you thousands of dollars in plumbing if you're currently using wipes. My solution to this problem is called Ashi. Ashi is simple. It is just a home system that is designed to transform your toilet paper into an eco-friendly flushable wipe. Very simple. Great gift for the holidays. It looks great in any bathroom. Smooth, sleek design. Great Christmas or holiday gift. 10% of net proceeds will go to Toys for Tots. Now, let's get into it. All right, guys. So take a look at a video of some progressives from TYT basically freaking out and talking about how they feel betrayed by Biden's cabinet picks so far.
So far, names that have been floated for Joe Biden's cabinet have been pretty disastrous. Just yesterday, we shared the story of how Louisiana Representative Cedric Richmond, who is a huge fan of fossil fuel money, was named as the director of the Office of Public Engagement. Now we're learning that Rahm Emanuel, who was a failed mayor of Chicago, is being considered for transportation secretary. Now that decision hasn't been made yet. His name is being floated, he's being considered. But I think we should know a little more about Rahm Emanuel, and progressives should certainly push back on this.
He loves money in politics. His campaigns were drenched in money. And then in a shocking development, he wound up giving giant breaks and deals in the ways that Anna explained, especially for his real estate developers, private education donors, you name it. Every one of those categories, he wound up helping them instead of the voters and citizens of Chicago. What a wonderful coincidence. And by the way, the media is like, oh, Rahm Emanuel, isn't he a great fighter for Democrats? Hilarious, hilarious. Now, no one props up the mythology of Rahm Emanuel and how tough he is. He's only tough on his own voters.
Yes.
He's never, ever been tough on a single Republican. He's a total weakling and coward when it comes to fighting Republicans. Why don't you just consider Mitch McConnell for your cabinet? Maybe we can get him out of the Senate. Is there anyone you wouldn't consider for your cabinet that is this deeply conservative and this deeply corrupt within the Democratic Party? By the way, not just within the Democratic Party, he's also considering Republicans. So I guess if you're considering Republicans, maybe Rahm Emanuel does make sense. So far, Biden's team, one good note, he picked Ron Klain as chief of staff. That was great. Everything else has been a disaster. Conservative after conservative on the cabinet, and being considered, and won't fight for his voters at all.
Louisiana Congressman Cedric Richmond, who has taken vast contributions from the fossil fuel industry, will serve in President-elect Joe Biden's administration. So this is a problem, especially considering what Richmond has been chosen for. Richmond, a national co-chair to Biden's presidential campaign, will leave his House seat to serve as a senior advisor with the title of Director of the Office of Public Engagement. Richmond is also expected to serve as a liaison with the business community and climate change activists.
How did we present Joe Biden when we were supporting him for the months leading up to the election? Very consciously as our preferred opponent out of the two. And this is the sort of thing an opponent does.
But when it comes to policy proposals that I desperately want as someone on the left, I'm not gonna be naive and think that Biden's going to deliver. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't at least try, that we shouldn't fight and hold him accountable.
All right, guys, so you hear it now, right? They're not happy with what's going on. And there was an interesting article from 538 in regards to what's going to happen with Elizabeth Warren, because Elizabeth Warren was one of the progressives that they wanted in Biden's cabinet. And Warren has been jockeying for this position basically ever since she betrayed Bernie Sanders in the primary. Guys, if you remember, right before Super Tuesday, it looked like Bernie Sanders was going to win the Democratic nomination. I mean, just straight up win. But what happens is that the establishment candidates, aka Pete Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar, I think those are the two main ones that's relevant. But all the establishment candidates dropped out, right? They dropped out magically. It was like, okay, we're out of the race. Leaving just Joe Biden versus the progressives, right? So versus Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Tulsi Gabbard, who at that point, Tulsi Gabbard was probably pretty irrelevant. But Elizabeth Warren refused to drop out. And because she refused to drop out, she split the vote between Bernie and her because they're both the most ideologically aligned, basically making it a lot easier for Biden to actually win. And that's what happened. And she refused to drop out for a very long time, and that pissed off a lot of progressives. Now, to me, it was obvious at the time that Pocahontas was doing this because she was trying to advance her own political career over the policies that she claims she believes in, right? She would rather try to put herself in a position to get in Biden's cabinet rather than get Bernie elected, because Bernie was doing better than her. Bernie was a more electable candidate than her at that point, according to what was going on in the actual election. So that's actually evidence right there that the Democrats will rig stuff. They do. I mean, they rigged their own DNC. I mean, we've seen this happen like twice, right? This is not even like a disputable fact at this point. That is an undisputable fact. When people say, "Oh, the Democrats do, with the Democrats rig," blah 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 blah, bruh, they've already done it. They rigged their own primaries. I mean, that we've seen it happen. But anyways, so it's funny to me because I kind of had a gut feeling that Elizabeth Warren would not get a cabinet position because I know how politics work. The centrist Democrats do not like the progressive Democrats. They're not the same. I'm just being real. But anyways, so 538 had a great article in which they outlined that Senator Elizabeth Warren is fairly unlikely to be chosen as Biden's Treasury Secretary, even though she wants the job, at least according to 3 Democratic officials who have spoken with her inner circle per Politico. But Warren probably knows why she's unlikely to get the appointment. The party's centrist wing doesn't want her running the department, and the Republicans might block her confirmation process. Instead, her public candidacy might really be an attempt to make sure Biden picks someone fairly liberal to run the department, or at least someone not too centrist. Remember, the president will be the ultimate decision maker in the administration, so don't focus too much on who gets other senior jobs. There's a certain logic to the idea that if Biden appoints a person whose views are similar to Warren to a key job, that person will implement lots of liberal policies in that job, and a less liberal person would implement more moderate policies. But that isn't really how a presidential administration usually works. On any really big policy matter, like who to nominate for an open seat in the Supreme Court, Biden is likely to make the final decision. Cabinet secretaries or lower level officials at agencies can make policy, but only if it's in line with what the president already thinks, or if it's not a big issue he needs to weigh in on. Additionally, top White House aides can stall agency moves if they disagree with him, again, meaning the president is the one who makes the final call. And of course, if a cabinet secretary, White House aide, or other political appointee disagrees with the president too often, he or she will be sent packing. Guys, this is basically a perfect summary of why our politics are the way they are. In the sense that no matter what happens, right, the establishment, the center is going to get their way, right? It don't matter. Even if they were to appoint Elizabeth Warren, which it seems like they won't, I don't know. I mean, they might, but I highly doubt it. I mean, I remember Joe Biden basically saying a tweet about how Elizabeth Warren should stay in the Senate. That she'd be great fit to stay in the Senate, is what he said. So I highly doubt she's getting a cabinet position, but I could be wrong. But again, what they don't realize is that they got played for fools. Okay? The centrist Democrats basically told them, listen, Trump is your biggest enemy. Trump, not us. Trump. Trump is your biggest enemy. Go fight Trump. And by fighting Trump, that means vote for us. Vote for us. Wink, wink. You know, we'll do something for you. You know, we might do something. And guess what? They went out and they voted against Trump in droves, right? And now, while Biden's, making his cabinet, look at what's happening. He's not nominating any of the so-called progressives to his cabinet. He doesn't want them around him. Right? Like, you guys continue to lose because you continue to get played. You guys can't even rally around your own candidate, right? Pocahontas refused to drop out and let Bernie win. She cared about her own political career more than she cared about the policies that she claims she loves so much. That's what happened. The far left are going to continue to lose because they can't even get behind their own candidate. They're not the same way Trump supporters are in terms of how they get behind their candidate. You see how Trump supporters have essentially are riding with President Trump to the end. It don't matter what happens. They are riding with him to the end throughout this whole court process. Again, y'all couldn't even get Bernie elected. Bernie ran twice. And this is why you lose. Because you let them bamboozle and hoodwink you into hating Trump so much when you should have actually tried to work with President Trump. You really should. Again, remember in 2016, he ran on populist ideas. It's just funny seeing the left get upset when they continue to lose because they got bamboozled, hoodwinked, and led astray by the same old anti-Trump derangement syndrome when they don't realize at the end of the day, they're going to lose no matter what. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.